Hello and welcome to the second edition of the Whiskers and Wisdoms podcast. I'm Greg Hall from Sunshine State Grooming, and this is Jacob Bain from Bain Blends. And we're here to talk about beards, beard-related products, and things that you might want to know. So right off the bat, Jacob, why don't you talk about your upcoming releases or anything you got new?
Yeah, so a couple of months back, started talking to the limb loss boss, a influencer, lost his legs above the knee and took a shot. And we started working on a couple of different oils some scent profiles that meant something to him. And after a couple of months, we decided we were going to release these three oils that are releasing tomorrow. Your wife's favorite, Rugged Man, or I'm sorry, let me go pull them up real quick because it's been one of those days where everything's kind of gone wrong that could potentially go wrong. You know how those days go. Uh, Dialed in, your wife's favorite, and Rugged Man. I know what I'm talking about. And we're releasing those tomorrow. He's going to be posting on his social media about it. And they are a play on more of a working man's oil. They smell nice. Um, the dry down is really nice. It's clean. Um, Sage, mountain mist, sea salt, a little bit of green tea in one of them. There's a little bit of a bite in Rugged Man that is really nice. The dry downs are fantastic. Um, they won't be for everybody, and that's okay. Most beard oils have a limited audience or things that some people like and don't like. And we're hoping that we introduce a lot of people to beard oil that otherwise wouldn't be introduced to it. Uh, Also tomorrow, well, actually tonight, we're releasing a Guinness styled scent called Celtoberfest. There's a big Celtic event happening here locally in the middle of the month, and we're doing this release in celebration of that. Smells great. It smells like Guinness. It's not perfect, but it smells like a chocolate stout. Hops, a little bit of ale, but it's really nice scent, balanced, sweet, very refreshing. And I hope that it does well because it's actually really, really enjoyable. I wasn't sure I was going to like it because those types of scents usually aren't for me, but I've thoroughly enjoyed this one. So, but that's on sale as of tonight. So that's what's going on for Bain Blends for right now.
And the first one is, they're both collaborations. The first one's called Slow Rat. So if you can see that, and that was a collaboration with Chance. And it's basically it's his childhood memories of the Sloss furnace in Birmingham, Alabama, where he used to work, and they had haunted houses and stuff like that up until COVID. And so he created a scent that had the different profiles of the things that he remembered from that. It's got a lot of different stuff in it. I'm not going to go through it. It's on the website. And the other one is actually pretty interesting. So this one is called Recovery. And hopefully you can see that. And so this one here was a collaboration with another guy. And so his plan is to use it to raise funds. And I promised that I would donate money to him to help people that are in recovery from drugs and alcohol. And that one is not on the website currently, but should be up tomorrow. And it is pineapple, lemon, coconut, and sandalwood. And so it's
Oh,
pretty
very
interesting scent, and it was something that meant a lot to him. And so we're going with it. And he just finalized it actually today. So that'll be up probably, like I say, tomorrow. And then
It's a very
currently working
summer
on,
style scent, right?
pardon me?
Very summer style,
Yeah, it's
refreshing.
definitely a summerish one, but it was something that, the happy thoughts with the coconut and the lemon, for people that are in recovery, trying to get them on a positive note type of thing.
Yeah. That sounds awesome. That sounds really great. Really great.
Yeah, I sent him. The first lemon that I had, I didn't like at all, so I ordered like 3 different lemons, and I sent him all 3, and he picked the one that he enjoyed the most. So, like I say,
Gotcha.
that'll be up tomorrow, and looking forward to it. Those are not part of my regular drop cycle in any way, shape, or form. But it was a couple of collaborations that some guys wanted, so there they are.
Gotcha. Sorry about the yawn. I've had a really long day.
No
Oh,
problem. Um,
yeah.
so the next thing we wanted to do is talk about scents and why you would be concerned about the overuse of scents. And so I'm going to start off with just a little quick thing for you to think about. How many of you can remember your grandma or your, crazy Aunt Jane or whoever it happened to be, that every time you walked into the room, they had on their perfume and you could smell it when the minute you entered the room? And if you ever wondered why that was the case, it was because they were nose blind. And so that's something that'll happen with scents. And so Jacob, you want to talk about it some more?
Yeah. Thanks for being on the spot, Greg. Just kidding. Uh, yeah, I mean, we all will visit somebody's house and we'll smell something that they don't smell anymore, right? I remember being a kid growing up with friends that had cats, and I would walk in their house and it would smell musty and distinctively like a cat. I had my aunt who was taking care of my grandmother who passed away in 1990. She had so many cats, and I remember walking into her house on many occasions just overwhelmed by the scent of a cat, but they didn't smell it. They just did not smell it, and that always stuck with me. Uh, fast forward many years, in the Marine Corps, we would clean our rifles and, the smell of the CLP and all the different chemicals that would be in the armory or the gunpowder in the range, whatever was going on, we would smell it and we would remember it and it would be pungent, but the people that were there all the time didn't smell it. Um, and that stuck out to me too because I was never one to consistently wear the same cologne or the same aftershave or the same deodorant growing up. I actually rotated around quite a bit. And subconsciously, maybe I did that because I thought that I would like to smell myself. But it turns out there's actually a lot of science to it. Uh, there are a lot of negative side effects to wearing the same scent all the time. And, there are some positive dissents as well. So, Greg, over the course of all this, we've talked quite a bit about the benefit of wearing certain scents or blowing out your nose while you need to give your nose a break. So you found an article that you sent me, and I'll let you open and talk about it because you found the article. But what are your takeaways so far from the article and from any other research you've done?
So basically, it's the idea that it's medically proven that you will go scent blind. I
Right.
can't don't have the article open, but I can't remember the name. But it's a
Yeah, I'll pull it
it,
up.
it's good.
So you've got an an anosmia, I guess, the more permanent condition, inability to detect a certain odor long term, can be a genetic defect, injury, or disease that causes it. And then you have what's called olfactive fatigue, which is a more temporary condition that can be resolved after a brief period of time with like a palate cleanse. Like you go to a cologne or perfume place and you're smelling the coffee beans in order to cleanse your palate. So that's what it was.
Okay. So the biggest one in to me in the beard world is the second one. So if you like tobacco scents and all you ever wear is tobacco scents, it's going to get to the point where you're not going to smell the tobacco. Especially if you use the same scent, if you're one of those guys that buys a bottle of beard oil and uses it till it's gone, um, and then buys another one and uses it till it's gone. At some point in time, you're going to stop smelling those scents. So you can put it on and you may smell it for just a few brief seconds, but then it's gone. It doesn't mean it's not there. It just means you no longer smell it. So the key to fixing this is to rotate. Get a variety of different scents and rotate through them, or even better yet, get an unscented one that you use, periodically. Like you said, as a palate cleanser.
Right. So why would it be important let's move away from beard oil and we'll talk about why would it be important to have that not happen on a regular basis? Like what could potentially be the dangers of having some sort of olfactive fatigue or anosmia, I think is how you pronounce it. Anosmia. What could potentially be the drawbacks of both?
Well, so if you permanently burn it out, then you could affect your entire life. So things like taste, when you're eating something, and they say that 80% of what you taste is actually related to what you smell as you're eating it.
Right.
So if you burn out your nostrils, you're going to not taste food the way that you used to. It will, the danger things, smelling natural or gas, which is actually doesn't have any smell to it naturally. They put a smell in it so that you can smell it. But if you burn out your nostrils, you can't detect things like that, and you could end up in a world of hurt.
Right. Yeah. So let's say you work at a sewage treatment facility. You're going to eventually work at that sewage treatment facility and not smell how bad you smell when you come home. Or if you stop at a gas station or go to a grocery store after you leave the facility, you may not smell all those smells that have clung on to you and you may smell like a sewer. You don't smell it anymore. Likewise, if you work in like maybe some place that produces ammonia. Now, obviously, if you're going to have ammonia, a mask for ammonia at all times, but I'm quite certain you're going to have certain scents that sort of latch onto you. So, one of the arguments I always make with people in relation to this industry, the beard oil industry, is that over scenting your beard can not only harm you, but it could harm somebody else because there are chemicals in some of the scents that are in some of the beard oil products. I would say the worst ones, the ones that are maybe more mass produced, that have questionable origins. And you may run across somebody that has such a negative reaction to those scents that you can put them in the hospital. Now, I know this is an extreme thing, but there's a reason why vanillin, there's a warning against it because it can cause medical distress.
Yeah, that makes complete sense to me.
Yeah. So, sense of taste. My wife's Italian. When I first joined this Italian family, there was lots of Italian food. It was like I had never eaten Italian before. It was all delicious. It was all super tasty. But after 22 years with her and many family meals, it doesn't taste the same way as it did before. Now, if I was not around these scents and these tastes all the time, I might go back to 22 years ago when I first started eating with her family and still taste those same things in the same way that I did. But because I'm around it all the time, I don't taste it the same way. So, me, I don't enjoy it as much as I did the month that we were together and I was eating fresh Italian food that was home cooked, even though everything's the same and it's still flavored the same way and it's still using the same ingredients. So this could be like one instance of, I believe that we would call that anosmia, to a degree because it's been so long. I just don't taste things the same way in that same kind of food. Now, addressing something else, let's say I'm allergic to peanut butter and I get around somebody that has peanut butter in their home, I should be able to smell it, right? I should be very sensitive to it because I'm never around it. And the same goes for perfumes and colognes. So one of my arguments has been with the guys in the bearded community is that as they add more and more cologne style or just scented oils in general without giving their nose a break, they can end up doing themselves harm. So what do you think would be the long-term ramifications of that? What could it harm?
Well, it's going to be different for different people. You bring up the allergies. So, I belong to the Masons, and one of the groups is called the Eastern Star. So a it's ran by the ladies. The men also belong, but um, at least in California, where I came from, their statewide meeting, they prohibit people from wearing perfumes at their meetings because they've had too many people that have actually had allergic reactions to it for other people wearing scents.
Yeah, that's crazy. So how long has that been in place, do you know? How long has that been in place? Like, how long have they been doing that?
About 10 years now.
Okay. Was there some sort of thing that happened that caused that? Did someone have to go to the hospital or
Absolutely.
really? Yeah.
They're largely
So
older ladies, so they tend to be frail. And so,
right.
so anything that sets them off.
But they're also the ones that tend to actually overpower their perfume too. They tend to wear more perfume.
Yep.
Yeah. What were you saying? I'm sorry.
Yeah, my wife is actually allergic to scents largely too. So she
Really?
buys unscented clothes wash and things like that, so that it's only certain scents, but it tends to be the ones that they put in laundry detergent and stuff like that that she has reactions to.
Interesting. Wow, that's pretty interesting. So how do you manage that making your own beard oil? Like, do you try to keep stuff separate from her, or how do you do that?
No, actually, she's my final nose sniffer. If I create a scent, I wave it in front of under her nose, and she gives me an up or down. It's
Really?
it's not that she doesn't like scents, it's more like when it touches her and stuff like that. Um, so
Interesting.
so I make products for her that I make unscented. So she uses my beard oil and beard butter in her hair before she showers to work on her scalp and stuff like that. So it's more of in her case, it's more of a touch than it is a smell.
Ah, gotcha. Interesting.
So
So one of the things that this article that you sent mentions is something called a malodor. So a malodor is something that the body recognizes as being dangerous to the human body. And things that contain malodors that the brain fires off and said this is dangerous are spoiled food, smoke from a fire, uh, ammonia, bleach, um, and there's others. So your brain smells that malodor and fires off a warning that says this is dangerous, get away. And the more that we hit our nose with fragrance all the time, the less our nose has the ability to detect malodors. And the spelling of that is Malodors. So malodor or a malodor. Did I lose you?
no, I'm back.
Okay, gotcha. So thought it was pretty interesting um, that this particular thing happens to people. And I really like the example that it used of the grandmother that's, drowning herself in perfume. She doesn't smell it anymore, but everybody knows that Mrs. Smith is coming into church because she is wearing her they use the Shalimar. And what's funny is that I've known people like this throughout my entire life. Now, I worked with somebody at the VA that, uh, I mean, 2010, 2011, before a lot of people were working from home, she was permanent work at home. She had such a severe allergy that she could go into anaphylactic shock. She had one of the highest rated and most expensive whole home air filters that you could have, and she could not clean with anything in her home other than vinegar. That's crazy.
And it was all related to smells.
Yeah, and it was all related to smells. Because you mean a smell is a chemical, right? It's hundreds, if not thousands, of different chemicals that mix together to create a scent. And that's why you and I and a few other businesses are so careful about where we buy our fragrances from. Because if we don't, we could run the risk of someone being seriously injured. But moreover, I think the battle is trying to get people to understand that they need to temper or rest their noses and be careful about how many scents that they put in front of their noses all the time.
Yeah. Or at bare minimum, get yourself a healthy rotation.
Right.
The difference between, tobacco and bourbon and, lavender and peppermint is going to be massive to your nose.
Right. Especially when dealing with like a fragrance versus an essential oil.
Yeah, and that's why you should probably have a in your rotation, you should have some essential oils because they
Right.
are different than the fragrance oils.
Yeah. Well, because something like frankincense is actually going to be good for your immune system when you breathe it in. But if you have like a fake vanilla, that does the opposite. That's bad for your immune system, potentially. So it's a fascinating topic. And I think, you know, as good stewards of the businesses that we have, being able to inform or advise folks of the dangers that they could potentially be facing, even if it means that we lose the sale, I think is the right thing to do.
Yeah, I agree. And I talk to people that say IFRA shouldn't matter; it's just a guideline. Um, and they're 100% right. It is a guideline, but they put those guidelines in places for a reason. They've done
Right.
studies, and they're trying to make sure that people don't get hurt. So we should be paying attention to those things.
Yeah, 100%. So when you scent things, what is the percent that you normally stay within the IRFA guidelines? Oh,
So IFRA is I think back on.
there
So
you go.
so IFRA is going to vary. Every product has a different guideline. And when
Right.
I buy scents, I tend to look for scents that IFRA is 4 to 5% at least. For category 5B, which is what a beard oil falls into. If I do that, my standard is I scent my oils at 5.5 to 6%. And so if I've got an oil that I can put 5%, scent oil that I can put 5% in it, that I blended together, there's no way I'm ever going to reach that total.
Right.
So that's the ones I look for. I have on occasion found one that was lower that I needed to actually create the scent, but then I've got to make sure that it fits within that guidelines. But my oils and butters are never going to be scented more than about 6%, and somewhere between 5 and 6%.
So in a 30 milliliter bottle, what does that equate out to generally?
I don't know. I make it 100 milliliters at a time, so it's it's
It's like between
rough.
2.5. Yeah, yeah, roughly 2. So I generally do to be between 2.5 and 3, um, and that's a little on the higher side based off of what I buy. I typically do not buy stronger selling, fragrances or stronger smelling fragrances. What's irony of it all is my nose is stuffy tonight. Ugh, but yeah, I mean, if it's a strong, pungent, um fragrance and it has a higher rating, I usually don't cross 2, so I'm in the same we're roughly within the same category of, how we fragrance things.
Yeah. Well, like you can buy an orange fragrance oil that you could just rub on your skin. It and could be completely within IFRA.
Right.
Obviously, I'm not going to use it that strong. Um,
Sure.
and then you can get right now the blue tansy is an essential oil that is a couple of the companies are using, and I have not found a blue tansy that was more than in the point percentages of how much you could put in. So when you're designing your fragrance, you have to know that I'm going to put in 5 to 6%, and of that, X amount percent can be that particular scent when you're crafting the scents, and that's kind of how I go about approaching it.
Gotcha. Well, I mean, that's smart, right? I mean, you're practicing what you preach. I try to do that as well. Obviously, essential oils are different. They can be more harmful if you're not careful which essential oils you use. Certain citrus essential oils can actually cause discoloration of your skin, so you have to be careful of that. Grapefruit can actually seep into your skin, so if you're on a medication where you shouldn't be taking in grapefruit, that could potentially be an issue. There's all sorts of things that could cause problems. Back to the scent thing, there has been many times when I've smelled something and I was breathing in just fine, nice, clear, able to smell everything, able to breathe just fine, and I smell something and my nose shuts down or I get a headache. Those are things that we need to pay attention to. Moreover, how are we affecting somebody else? If you have a baby or you're a grandparent to uh, a, and have a small grandchild, you really need to be careful about being around that child with a whole face full of fragrance. It can be harmful. So, yeah.
Yeah, that all makes perfect sense to me.
Yep.
Um, the big takeaway to me is just be careful. Know what you're buying. Make sure that you're rotating things. Get yourself an unscented oil and make that a part of your rotation. If you
100%.
really got to have the scents during the day, wear an unscented at night, so you're not getting that breathing that in at night.
Yeah. Or use a essential oil that can help relax you, can be meditative, can maybe help you not get a headache, a stress headache. There's all sorts of essential oils that are really good for your immune system. It's better to breathe those things in than, you know, something that's heavily fragranced with nothing that's got any medicinal qualities.
Yeah, absolutely.
Very cool.
Thing new and exciting coming up for you?
Just the thing with Limb Loss Boss. Got a couple of in-person events going on that are going to be kind of cool. There's a Keltoberfest actually happening locally. It's an all-day affair at a local brewery. a ticketed event. It goes from like 11 o'clock in the morning to like 10 o'clock at night. There's going to be a Celtic metal band there, and then another Celtic band there at part of the day. So it'll be a lot of fun. We're we're doing this beard oil. We'll do the beard oil. We'll do a butter uh, for this event. And, have a bunch of other style beard oils there for people to choose from. But it should be a really fun all day event.
Oh, sounds like it's something I may need to drive over for.
Yeah, man. Love to have you.
Yeah, and then the kind of the last thing I wanted to talk about today was just the beard competition that we were just at.
Oh yeah.
So we got to go up to North Florida, and there was a North Florida beard and facial hair group was having a beard comp. And so I was there, Jacob, Matt from Florida Boys Grooming, um, Renee from Black Manor was there.
Mike
Um,
Wiseman.
Mike Wiseman from Hemp Wizard was there.
Yep.
And then several of the guys from the online communities that we participate with, Frick and Frack and Anthony and Blake.
Yep.
Justin Cheatham was one of the judges, and he's ambassador for Big Sexy. So it was kind of fun. What do you think?
I enjoyed it. Had a long conversation with a barber that day, who's also a former Marine like myself. He really wants to lean into the herbal side of oil and barber care and stuff like that. So we're going to be working together, hopefully, and creating something that will, hopefully be able to um, work for his business. Might have to do some custom labeling and stuff like that. But he really wants to get away from alcohol and chemical aftershave and stuff like that, and wants to do oil based. So we're going to have to work on some products for that. Um, Renee was a sweetheart. I was so thrilled to meet her and get the chance to talk to her. Frickin' Frack, um, Bob and Terry Jones were remarkable. Had a long conversation with Mike Wiseman about butters, and him and I agreed quite a bit on a lot of things. Uh, I did not want to do butters initially, but I decided to do that. I do understand his reasoning behind it. And Matt from Florida Boys Grooming was phenomenal to talk to. Beautiful table setup, lots of great products. We swapped a bunch of stuff like you and I did. And um, man, I was so thrilled with the day, even though it was a smaller event. Um, they were sweet people, and they I think we really need to try to work on getting those events to be bigger as best we can, within our realm of our sphere of influence.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that was definitely a smaller event, but that just leaves it room to grow. I mean, there's if they had done things like get some music or something, they could have done it outside on the patio and drawn in some
Right.
people. Um, it's a growing thing. Whenever you start an event, it always starts small, and you learn and it grows.
Yeah. Yeah. Did you get a chance to talk to Mike Weisman at all about the butter situation?
I didn't really on Saturday. I have talked to him in the past. He just
Gotcha.
doesn't believe that it's the right thing for your beard, and so he's not going to make it. And I can
Yeah.
completely respect that because like I can't wear balm. I don't like it. So I can't try it and test it. So I'm never going to make a balm.
Yeah. Yeah. He was making the characterization of butters being um block your pores. They tend to weigh down your beard. They tend to block air from being able to pass through your hair, including an air exchange, oxygen exchange that happens within the hair itself. He makes a lot of solid points, and I asked him at one point. I said, "Well, let's talk about scales. So, for a butter, does it take away five benefits and only add three?" And he goes, "Well, based on essentially it boiled down to based on the butter, that's kind of how it works. You're taking away some benefit and only adding a few. So I said, well, for my oils, I add Nilotic shea, which is very soft, very supple, very delicate butter. And I add 1% per volume. So in 100 ounces or 120 ounces of oil, I will add 1% or less than an ounce of that butter to that volume and make sure it's melted, stirred up, whatever inside the oil. And it's very delicate. You don't even feel it, but it adds just a little bit of extra thickness to that oil and makes it a little bit more delicate. Um, so I said, well, what do you think about that? And he goes, well, that's interesting. I probably still wouldn't do it, but I see your point why you would. And I'm like, fair enough. So I think there, and I think you probably have a lot to say about this, but I think there's give and take there, right? What type
It
of butter you're using and all that.
it also is going to depend on what butters you're using. So I use refined and unrefined shea, and I use mango butter and kokum butter in my butters. On the comogenic scale, mango and kokum have 0. Unrefined shea has 0, and shea can have anywhere between 2 to 3, depending upon what it is or where you got it from. So it's incredibly unlikely to clog your pores. Even
Right.
2 to 3 on the comogenic scale is incredibly unlikely. So how you design it is going to affect that. And if you think about it, the high end women's skin products are made out of those butters. So it really
Yeah.
probably can't be bad for your skin if they've been using these for hundreds of years.
Right.
So is there trade-offs? Yeah, there's, like I say, some people don't like the feel of it in their beard. Some people enjoy it. When I first started growing mine and it was shorter, I used butter, oil and butter every morning and then just oil at night. And when it got longer, I did feel the weight on it during the day. So I switched that to where I put the butter on at night because it does have nourishing properties for the hair.
Right.
So there's benefits there. I'm sure that there's negatives, and everybody gets to make their own choices and how they feel and want to treat their beard.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it highlights the differences in the community, right? Hemp Wizard has a chemistry degree. Um, I listen to what he says, and I think that he is probably right in a lot of things he says. It's actually giving me a lot to think about too, because I really want to work on making my butter um to be more rich and more nourishing than it already is. Um, what does that mean? Well, it means drilling down into the infusion aspect of it. Maybe using less of those things in order to make it um where it still gets the benefit, but maybe it absorbs better. But you're right. I mean, we are using butters in our products that are actually quite nourishing for your face. Um, the side effect of it is that I think butter should be used at night and that oil should be used during the day. But really, all of this boils down to what's best for your beard. And everybody's beard is different. Everybody's face is different. Everybody has different DNA, genetic makeup, different pH. Not one beard is going to be the same. So we really can't treat every beard the same way.
Yeah, and everybody's preferences are this. So even if you somehow did have the same beard, you're what you like is going to be different from the next guy.
Right. Yeah, it's so true.
And that's one of the reasons why I really like my squeeze butter is because it's got a much higher oil content. So it's kind of a crossover between the butter and the oil. In fact, I've got a few people that just buy the squeeze butter and that's what they use. They don't even instead of butter or oil, they just get the squeeze butter.
Yeah, it's a nice product too. I got to feel it. Well, I forgot where we were at. I think if somebody had it on them, and I tried it. But did you give me one? You gave me one, didn't you? Yeah. Yes, it was you that I got it from you, and I tried it. Yeah. Oh, it was the Steinbeck. My gosh, my brain is not working today, brother. Oh man, it's been a long day. So, well, anything else you want to add on it? I know that you and I have droned on about this with other people in the community in the past, so we probably can't add much more to it, but
I think we pretty much covered it for today.
sounds good.
All right.
All
Well,
right, well, I'll tell you what, when Octoberfest comes up, I'll make sure that you have the official invite. It should be a good day. I think we'll have Larry there for Mad Donkey. I don't know if he reached out to set up, but I know that he's supposed to be coming. Um, super nice guy. I got to meet him for the first time a couple weeks ago. And I'm gonna see who else I can get to come out. So
eventually I'm going to have to start, put together a traveling kit and start heading out to some festivals and selling as well.
yeah, yeah, 100%. Cool, man. I don't have anything else to add, so let's close this out.
All right. Well, thanks for listening, and we hope you enjoyed what we brought to the table, and we look forward to talking to you on the next one.
Yeah, sounds good.